As a child, we all long for a hero. As a society as a whole, we search for that leader that can be our hero. But as we mature and as we grow, it dawned on us that the hero is inside every one of us. And in the world's social media, we all start at zero. And slowly we search deep within ourselves to find who we are. And we have that moment of truth where we embrace that the hero that we've been searching for has been there all along. It is living deep inside of every one of us. And we start embracing that journey and we become that hero that we search for.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to episode 92 of Zero to Hero, presented by J29 Creative Group. I've got another awesome guest coming at you guys today. I don't know how we keep getting so lucky to have all these amazing Kansas Cityans on the show, but very blessed. So we are joined today by Angeliina Lawson. She is the owner of Land on the Range, LLC, and she's also a licensed realtor with National Land Realty. So let's go ahead and bring her in. Angeliina, how are you today?
I'm doing really well. Thank you so much for having me here.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thanks for joining us for sure. And you are one of those people that absolutely loves Kansas City, like a lot of Kansas City, myself included for sure. So tell everybody a little bit about what you're doing in the area and how you're bringing some awesome things to the city.
Yeah, I think being in love with Kansas City has been so infectious. I moved from California over here, transplant just like you, about 13 years ago. And there's a few things that were really different in where I grew up and where I am in love right now in this city. So the seasons for sure. When you come out and it's 73 degrees all the time in California, it's something where, and we talked before of just kind of how there's not much really to do because you can always do it tomorrow. That sense of the seasons are always great. And when I quickly realized that the storms come in and they're beautiful and they're loud and all the energy that comes with lightning and thunder, and then as quickly as they come, they go away. And that has really opened my eyes up to doing things. So in the hot summer or the really cold winter where everyone bunkers down, when we start to emerge out, everyone knows their neighbors, everyone's talking and saying, hey, I'm having a great day. I feel good because the weather's actually good and I can actually go out and do things. So I noticed right away that being here in Kansas City, there's so many things that people are doing. And as we transition to everything that is currently happening, it keeps me coming back to that place of what else do I want to see coming into Kansas City? And that has been the driving force to dream and to think about what would Kansas Cityans love to be a part of and do when they're here. So much has changed over the last few years. I think everyone has talked about COVID and just how different our lives have been after that. Now, I think Kansas City has really come to its own by the announcements of certain developments like Panasonic. You've got the World Cup, which I think blew everybody away. And I still don't think we really know what that means for everybody. And this time next year, it's our whole area is going to start really looking different. And because I'm inland, there's so much of the back and forth talking to farmers and ranchers and understanding what they needed to save the family farm. That was always my first priority in talking with landowners. Sometimes you have transitions in life that are unexpected, and you need to be able to find a way through. So much of what I've done is really trying to figure out the best path forward for that landowner or farmer rancher, whether that is selling, whether that's selling to another farmer and rancher first, or if you are close enough to the urban fringe, maybe selling to a development. So those have been kind of the ones in around the fringe have been the Willy Wonka golden ticket moments for people, where they start looking around going, holy cow, how much per acre? And that's been another educational piece, is to make sure that landowners know the value of their land, and that they're not having someone come in with a big check and not realizing just how much that means per acre and what is possible for them. So it's been a very big change. I am now talking with people that I never thought I would be talking to, and those are the capital funds, hedge fund folks. That's a whole other layer that's happened with the mortgage interest rates really changing people's abilities to buy a home, and a lot of lenders stepped back. Well, that doesn't mean we have to stop, because we still have to get ready for the World Cup and build out what Panasonic is going to look like when they bring 8,000 new jobs. How are we going to have all the homes ready and the apartments? And then I think, well, what kind of attractions do we want? I want to be able to have fun out here. So if we're going to have a lot of folks, they're going to want to say, well, I want what's there to do out here? That's usually the first question I get when I talk to developers. They just go, why Kansas City? And I go, oh, well, hold on a second. Let me tell you what's so awesome about Kansas City. And they don't realize that all the converging highways come through Kansas City. So that is really helpful for them when it comes to maybe an industrial site where someone's looking to build a logistics center. Now we've got these supply chains that are building out. Well, Kansas City is right along that path. And I think there's a misnomer that a lot of people in the rural are farm work, or they're farmers or they're ranchers. And actually, in the majority that we are finding out that live in the rural areas are actually manufacturer. They work with the manufacturing sites. So having so many of these like urban outfitters come out here, we've got 2 chip manufacturers that are coming out here. These are actually the jobs that are coming from people in Kansas side and also in Missouri area. So it's a real eye-opener to understand what is happening in this area and educating people. And I just think we have such a vibrant city then we got Patrick Mahomes, which is like a player here. So we've got the retail distribution center that is just absolutely humming and humming and humming. And then we've got Patrick Mahomes and their 2 recent Super Bowl wins. And then on top of that, now, we've got the KC Current Women's Soccer Stadium, which has now put us as the #1 soccer capital in the world, because we've got the men's soccer stadium, now the women's, and then the World Cup. And I almost go, we need to start being fans of soccer, because that's something that, right? Like, wait, I think we need to get some soccer balls in the house, because right? Some eye-opening pieces that I think is happening. And then, of course, you got the amazing American Royale that is coming in right around the Legends. And I have really just taken a squat around Wyandotte County and the lower half of Leavenworth County. And I see that as just an absolute sports epicenter of attractions. And when I talk to, and I literally get excited like this on the calls with the developers and the capital funds. And I go, you don't understand. This place is so amazing. And they say, okay, we get it, Angeliina. So then now I'm working with several big developments that are really wanting to come in. I am under several NDAs, several layers of NDAs. So the only thing I can really talk about is the price tag of how much these things are coming in. So in accumulation, it's about a little over $2 billion worth of development that really wants to make Kansas City their home. And they are very excited. I've already engaged the state, the local levels. I know where the land is. And that's pretty much everything that's happening is the love of the agritourism side, where just the heart of showing up. And I think that's where, Ted Lasso hit it so hard on the nail with his show, is just the fact of showing up for people. And how many ranchers and farmers, they don't always know what to do if there's an emergency, but the fact is, if you show up, you'll figure it out. And I think that has been such a core fundamental value that I have brought into this, is just showing up to the farmer who needs to look at what they can do with their land, to the developer with what they want to bring in, and just piece it all together. And I know that we could not have the culture that we have in Kansas City if it wasn't for the farmers and ranchers, the folks that live in the rural, because when there's a tractor fire and it looks far away, immediately people see that smoke go up, they jump in their cars, and they're just like, I think that's Smith's property. I think that's Smith's farm. We're going to Smith's farm. Everyone get in. They don't know what they're going to see. They don't know what's going to happen. Maybe they got to get horses out. Maybe they got to get cattle out. They'll stay there all day to make sure that that family is going to be okay. And the love of that community to come together and continue to show generation after generation the power of showing up for people, I think is so infectious. And when you show up for people and you're authentic and you're not there other than just to find out how you can help, you may not be able to help everything, but I know I might know somebody who could. And I think that's the part that is hard to explain about Kansas City.
Yeah.
And I think Ted Lasso has been such a role model for, like, yes, go, because he actually has a sign on that locker room that says believe. And so much of that is just believing in yourself, that just show up and you'll figure it out.
I love it. I love it. I have to back up or I'm going to kick myself, because I am a Kansas City native. So I did live in California for a long time, but I love what you said. I love what you said about the storms, right? And about coming here. So one of the ways that I used to describe it in California was, you can, go out and live in the country, right?
Yeah.
And be around cows and be around horses and be in the middle of nowhere. And then within 20, 30 minutes of driving into the city, you're in this major metropolitan area with tons of stuff to do, right? So you can really live the best of both worlds out here. And like we were talking about the other day, I kind of see those lines stretching out a little bit. So that 20, 30 minutes may turn into 30 or 40 minutes, right? With the amount of people that are moving into Kansas City and the amount of awesome business that we are, attracting at this point, with the success really of sports teams, right? I think the sports teams thankfully have put us on the map really in the last 8 years. Going back to the Royals run in the World Series, I think was kind of the first time probably since the mid 80s that people have really started to pay attention to Kansas City.
Right.
And it's been continued success, right? With Patrick Mahomes and with the Chiefs, which we obviously love very, very much here. One thing, the Ted Lasso that I really love about that, and the reason I think he so much exemplifies Kansas City outside of what he's saying and outside of how he's treating people, is he always has a Kansas City shirt on. There's not an episode where he's not repping, a Charlie Hustle shirt or a Made Mob shirt, right? And it's so true to form of who Kansas City is. I mean, we truly are our own biggest fans, and we love having you here and attracting the new fans as well. It's
That's right.
amazing.
Well, in California, nobody was out promoting their city. It just
Right.
wasn't a thing. And anytime I travel, and I can travel a lot, I never see other people in the airports showcasing how their pride for their city. But I can definitely see a Jayhawks, a Chiefs, a K-State, or a Charlie Purple Heart. And it's just this immediate, like, hey, I got you, and there's just this, it can change your whole day. And the love that you have for a city, and knowing that there's just so much about it. And I do love to showcase it because it is something that I think a lot of people are missing in other cities and other states that I think is so unique about this area. And I really attribute it to the farmers and ranchers and the culture and just the way that they show up for people. And now, the excitement of agritourism, bringing in the land access for folks who have never been around a horse, never been around a cow. Those things are really meaningful for people to pick their own apples and to have land and be a part of something. So I really am grateful for the farmers that are opening up their land and having folks come and participate. And I think it's just so valuable for the next generation also, because the other component is education. I really want to cultivate the next generation of landowners. And
Yeah.
I would love to have the next generation of farmers and ranchers also and continue that. Just everything that comes along with agritourism and producing for our country and producing for our state. There's really something about it.
Yeah, and there's some guys out there and gals that are making huge leaps and strides with that kind of thing. Michael Green, who just commented
Yes,
earlier on the show with Walk and See Ranch, is doing
yeah.
amazing things out there, right? And come up with new concepts and how can I further share this land beyond just what we're doing with the horses and that kind of thing, right? So
It's saving the family farm. And I am so grateful for that next generation that is interested in the things that they're doing to make sure that the land stays in the family. And I think that's probably one of the biggest things and struggles with the next generation is understanding what to do with this. They don't know what to do. And so being able to be a part and helping to teach other youth that this is what's capable is really valuable.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I want to back up one more time because we were
Yeah.
talking about the weather, and I love what you said there as well. So, from my experience in California, I almost would lose track of time because it
Mm,
was the same so
yeah,
often, right? And I
yeah,
was so used to seasons, fall, when it's fall, right? We're feeling that right now. We're getting we got out of that hot part of summer, we're getting into fall, and you definitely know when it's winter here as well, right? I mean, there's no mistaking it. In California, it would be, we would go from 4th of July straight to
yeah.
Thanksgiving, and I would feel like nothing changed at
Yep.
all, and then into Christmas, and I'm like, what? And it's great to play golf on January 1st. I will throw that out there. That's the
Sure.
one thing I miss about it. But man, you lose track of time. I mean, the changing in the seasons is almost like a metronome for our lives here in the Midwest.
Yeah.
Where we really keeps us on track, right?
Yes.
But yeah, we definitely are able to take advantage of those nice days, right? You learn to take more advantage of those
Yeah.
nice days and kind of get out and enjoy those. So
I think it keeps
I
us
love that.
really present in the moment more
Yeah.
than I realized being elsewhere. Just really taking opportunities to say, today is a beautiful day. What am I going to do today? And not worry about so much in the future or the past. It's really has a nice effect to just stay present. Yeah.
I love it. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, let's get into the meat of the show
I
here, Angelina. So, putting aside the land realty, okay, putting aside all the work you're doing with lobbying in Kansas, the government
Oh yeah,
work, and
yeah, right.
all that stuff, okay, who is Angelina Lawson? Give us your elevator pitch. Who are you?
I am a grizzly mama. First of all,
Yeah.
like I have a teenager, and all of you guys who are parents have a 13-year-old. Now he's a boy, so I think there might be a little bit different. I might have some graces right now versus anybody who might have a teenage daughter, because I remember when I was a teenager. So my son, I'm a grizzly mama. I am raising my son. I want him to have this kind of childhood when he looks back and he's playing with the cicadas and he's watching out on the lightning bugs glitter across the cornfields. I mean, that is stuff that it's just priceless for me. And I work very hard to create the kind of community that I want him to grow up in. And, I I really focus on this one idea that has really been a stable factor for me, and it's called Sandpoint. And the idea around Sandpoint is that every grain of sand has a point. So where every piece of sand is important in building the beach. So finding those grains of sand. Now, grains of sand can be very agitating in your foot. It can be very beautiful when you walk across. So there's many components to how a grain of sand can come in your life, but that every grain has a point. And the collection of those, whether it's collecting good memories and creating a beach where it has a good feeling, or the opposite of creating negative feelings and having a real collection of negative results. And I feel that that has been something that has really navigated me through hardships, through relationships, through struggles, is just to look at there's a point of every little piece of grain of sand. And it's also helps to minimize the experience also to a grain of sand, that this is something I can overcome. I'm not working on the beach. I'm working on just a grain of sand today and how to accumulate that over time. So just really putting the investment into little actions mean a big deal, little acts of kindness. So every time when I'm meeting somebody, it's a little act of kindness. It's looking to find out what is the best and highest use for what they're doing with their land. But then also as a community member, what are the little acts of kindness? You know, even going through an airport and just hollering out at some other Kansas City and say, hey, that's the little grain of sand. And it's in of itself is not it, but it's the accumulation of it. So I have a background in clinical psychology, so that has afforded me the ability to manage kind of expectations, provide clarity, kind of work through what is it going to take to get to the end goal. And I have a very clear end goal that I love Kansas City, and this is my home. And I've never looked back. I've never looked back to where I came from. And I want that same kind of feeling where people feel that they have purpose, that there is part of a bigger community here. And it's hard not to be excited about Kansas City. And then it's really, when I look at everything, I'm being in this field, so much of life is about negotiating what you want and understanding there might be limits, but showing up and presenting what you want and making the ask. And so much that has been very successful for my career because I'm here too. And so having those negotiations is incredibly important in friendships and relationships and just in career and in life. So that's me in a nutshell.
I love it. I love it. I love that last part too. That's something I've been trying to beat into people's heads ever since I started a sales career. Was like, everybody does sales. Everybody in the world, you're either selling yourself, you're selling a product, you're selling a service, right? Whatever it is, a lot of people, it is selling yourself, right? And getting yourself out there and being intentional and asking for what you want. But the grain of sand analogy is, wow, that's powerful. I mean, that really encompasses a lot of different thoughts about, failing forward and living intentionally, right? And all those different things kind of into one analogy. I like that. That's really, really powerful.
Yeah.
You do an excellent job with putting yourself out there on LinkedIn specifically. So tell us a little bit about what that journey has been like for you, starting from, at some point, whether it was when LinkedIn started or when you started paying attention to LinkedIn, we had 0 followers, 0 connections, right? 0 shares, 0 likes, all that stuff, to where you are now. So tell us a little bit about how that journey's been for you and some of the different things that you've done.
Yeah, thank you. It has been definitely, I began to focus on building social media much more about the quality of content to really attract more of the volume of followers, but really it's more about the right kind of followers for me. So I really write the articles geared towards the audience that I feel needs to learn about Kansas City, about specific issues to attract that right type of follower for me, what I'm looking for. And I really kind of judge the success of what I'm doing based on the kind of context that I'm getting. So I feel everyone kind of has a different way that they interact with social media. So some folks might feel that, hey, if I have 80,000 followers, that's success. For me, I could have 80,000 followers and nobody's contacting me. That to me is not success.
Right.
So if I had 20 followers and all those 20 followers were contacting me, they were bringing in deals, and they were building out 20 projects in Kansas City, that is really big success for me. So I have really focused more on what I want to do instead of what everybody else is doing. And there are times where I don't even look to see what are the followers because I'm looking for the engagement. I gauge the success of my day, whether or not I've got a developer who texted me or sent me a DM. I've got someone who is curious about Kansas City and wants to learn a little bit more. And I turned into this kind of tourism thing because it's hard not to talk about it. But my real goal is to bring in the types of development that are going to make Kansas Cityans proud. And something that I want to go to and be a part of and bring the family. So there's so much that I feel like I'm putting these projects together because they're not here now, but I know where the land is. Now I have the funder. Now I have the developer. I've reached out to the county and the state. So now it's all kind of making the sausage that people don't really see how it's done. And that's kind of, I'm piecing it all together to do the best and show up and work as hard as I can to reach those goals that we need as a city and a metro for the World Cup. And really what I really want is for people who come to Kansas City all over the world that want to stay. I would love to make this a second home for them and to be able to have that extra revenue come in for the counties and the cities and to encourage the agritourism to have that revenue and just have just an amazing ebb and flow where people want to keep coming back.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got some great analogies, by the way. Yeah. I mean, how many people have seen a sausage get made? That is exactly a good way to talk about stuff.
How many people knew how to make it? It's the meat industry does, the meat markets do, but I just go and say, okay, here's my cow. I'm going to pick it up.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, it's in a package ready to go for me. I got my sausages. That's
right. Yeah. So that's been a real interesting turn to figure out the steps. Yeah. And so much of it is like, hey, what does everyone need? And then that's kind of the negotiations of figuring out how do we do all this? Because we've never been here before. We've never been here before. And everyone is showing up in different sectors that I am very proud of. I see the news articles coming out. And I mean, I'm excited. I don't know if you saw that one where Smuckers just joined with Hostess and Twinkies. I don't know about you, but I hope that there is a peanut butter and jelly Twinkie coming.
Ooh.
Right?
One that doesn't expire. That could be interesting.
Isn't that the old thing? You put a Twinkie on a shelf and it'll be there in the apocalypse.
Yeah. I think they was that movie Zombieland. I think they that was like the big thing. Woody Harrelson's like looking for Twinkies all over the place.
Yeah, right. It's the same thing as like don't swallow your gum. It's gonna stick to your ribs.
Right. Yeah. 7 years. 7 years. That was the number. I don't know how much gum I got left in there, but you know, if it's not out by now, I don't know what to do about it. But yeah, I want to back up. So you were talking about the social media and the vanity metrics, right? Which I think is what, depending on what your goal is with social media, right? I mean, if your goal is to be strictly an influencer, those vanity metrics are exactly what you're going for, right? The likes, the shares, right? The comments. I mean, your job as an influencer is to get engagement, right?
Yeah.
As business, right? Business owners or people that are working within a business on social media, who cares how many likes you get? You know what I mean? You could have 100,000 likes on a post,
I
but if it
know.
doesn't move the bottom line even a little bit, what's the
That's
point, right? And
right.
that's something, you know, that we have to deal with quite a bit being a social media company, right? Is, you know, how are we measuring success here, right?
Yeah.
Is it engagement? Is it likes? Is it follows? Typically, the way we look at it at J29 is if we're not moving your bottom line, we're not doing our job, right? Because that's the only reason to put yourself out there on social media as a business, right? Is for brand recognition, which relates to sales, right? And getting and improving that bottom line. So I love that you brought that up. You obviously have a very straight head as far as what you need out of social media, which is not a ton of friends, right? Or not fake likes and fake follows or whatever it is, right? But getting people to be interested in
Mhm.
moving their business here and the moving here, you know, and all the cool things that we can do here. So
That's right.
I absolutely love it. And the one thing that I do want to repeat that you said is you speak to your target, right? So a lot, especially on LinkedIn, right? A lot of the success comes from writing to somebody. Obviously, you're
Yes.
putting that message out there broadly, right, for everybody to see it. But
Yeah.
if you're having trouble creating content on LinkedIn, write to somebody. Have somebody in mind when you're creating that post, and it'll make a world of difference for you.
That's right. And how I know I'm effective is because I get the right people messaging me back. And that's
That's
how
it.
I know. And I've curved that based on what I'm getting back. And it's my DMs are pretty full with people that I need to talk to and get out here. And not everyone, is the right fit. So that's
Sure.
where it has to be the right fit for Kansas Cityans. And that's kind of where I'm pretty selective of what I want to bring in so that it is something that we're proud of too.
I love it. Any way you can get us a hockey team?
Well,
Can we start working on a hockey team?
something I was excited about. I'm hoping, come on, Mahomes. Come on.
Yeah, we need an
Basketball
NHL
team
team and
too.
an NBA team. Yep,
Oh my
absolutely.
goodness. We can do it. I know we
Sprint
can.
Center's not that old, or T-Mobile, sorry. T-Mobile Center is not that old. It's fine. Move
Oh,
in. We're
yeah,
fine. Come on over.
we can do this. I know that.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. But Angelina, every superhero has a defining moment. What do you think yours is when it comes to not only your career but your life as well?
I think about, because right now I am leaning on a kitchen table, and the kitchen table to me, and I brought this into my office actually because it has such meaning for me. Uh, we are seeing such large transitions of generational wealth in the history of transferring land to the next generation. These moments have met with such emotional struggle in families for those that are needing to let go, and for the next generation who feel overwhelmed to pick it up. And these conversations happen right around a kitchen table. And so it has such meaning because of the things that have been discussed, the blood, sweat, and tears that have made decisions at this table, that I feel it's a way to honor all the moments that I've had with people that have invited me into their home to sit down and talk about struggles that they're having and wanting to have options to keep, wanting to just know their options and to help that next generation that they may not know very soon. And those moments are, I find, deeply respectful. When I'm at those tables, providing a stable hand through that emotional turmoil so often, I think has created aha moments. So when it's almost like two moments come together that create its own moment. And I call those aha moments.
Yeah.
That it's stuff that I know that I bring to the table. It's what they need out of it. And then we create something. And that can be a breath of fresh air between a rock and a hard spot for folks. So that is my defining moment, is the kitchen table. There is so much that happens joyful celebrations. I've had many people excited to sign contracts. And then I've had many tears of what that means for them and the disappointment or what they are facing, whether it's medical health or things like that, that cause those difficult decisions. So I keep that as a deep respect in my office. And people always look at me and say, "Is this the kitchen table?" And I say, "Yes." It is the most comfortable for me. Instead of being very business, it's much more authentic for me. And I feel like there's a lot of respect around what happens at a kitchen table.
I love that. I love that. And you're dealing with people's defining moments all the time, right? I mean, a lot of the times, whether we're going to keep the farm or sell the farm, or whether we're happy to sell the farm or not, right? Or the ranch, right? That's
right.
a huge, especially when it's I can imagine multi-generational, right? I mean, I could see some serious, feelings going on around those kitchen tables for sure.
Yeah, it is really hard. And the disappointment that the kids have if they don't want it, the struggle between how it's just, all I can do is provide a stable hand that says, here are the options here. And so much of what I remember from just interacting with everyone here in Kansas City, and even what Ted Lasso kind of brings up, I mean, we talk about Ted Lasso, is just being honest.
Yeah.
And I feel like that is such a component that is hard to do at times. But I feel like because I have such deep respect for the landowners, that it's in their best interest for me to be honest about what their options are, what their land value is, and to encourage them to be educated. And I can help them through stacking their leases so that the next generation can have enough money that's not just paying the taxes, but to actually generate money for whatever they're looking to do. And then what else? And it's not, I talk a lot about landowners, but this whole chasm that has happened in the housing district where people have fallen behind and they're never going to be homeowners because the cost to get in is so high. I've done workshops with folks that live in apartments and say, this is how you can build collateral and assets through tax sales, tax foreclosure sales. And those are really eye-opening for people. They've never known that there's even something out there or what's in there, and no one shows up to those. So I have seen proof of certain counties that sell nice size lots for $25. And people don't realize that that could be appraised for $40,000. Guess where you can take that? You can take it to the bank, and now you've got an asset. So these things are ways where I educate folks to say, you don't have to be a landowner. And maybe you never want to, but there are ways that you can build the assets that you are looking for to get the loan you want, and those strategies.
And that's why you go to an expert right there. I mean, if you come across any of the $25 plots, let me know.
Well, they're all over the place.
Scoop them up.
they're all over. It's you showing up and saying $25. That's what you do.
Got it. I'm gonna have to do that. I'm gonna grab my hand, Angeliina. Let's do it.
It's in the spring and the fall are where the counties have their land, their tax foreclosure sales. Now, some of the rural areas are in the sheriff's department, and those happen almost every Tuesday. So I've seen mineral rights and oil rights go through some of the sheriff's office. And in one occasion, it was worth about $4 million in oil rights for active oil wells around here. And the one person in the room bought them for $150,000.
Wow.
So it just like Hamilton, it matters to be in the room, right?
Gotta get there. Yeah,
that's right. You gotta be in the room. You gotta be in the room.
Show up. Yeah, absolutely. Now, every hero has attributes, right, that make up who that hero is. Villains obviously also have attributes. What are the attributes you feel really define what a hero is?
September 11th just happened, and that really, because I've been thinking about this, but I keep going back to how I'm reminded that not all heroes wear capes. And so many of the incredible heroes, the firefighters, the police officers, the ambulance drivers, teachers, hospital workers, everybody who in time of crisis put it all on the line. And we saw this again under COVID. And when I list the values of what makes a hero for me, it isn't just about the movie superheroes. It is much more about the real power of showing up in someone's life. So it's definitely a tribute to just everyday heroes, that we're all heroes. And so much of that power is showing up for somebody else.
That's huge. Yeah, making the decision, right? That's yeah. I think you're 100% right. We've all got a little hero in there, right? But how are you going to use it? Are you going to use it? Right. I think are
That's a very good question.
the big ones there.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's absolutely right. Because we could see a lot of struggle in other people and drive right by. And I think I've grown up in that, and I know that in certain areas of the country that is pretty common. Where I didn't even know my neighbors. I didn't know unless there was an earthquake that had happened, and then I move out to this area, and suddenly, my neighbor Janet, I know Betty, and it's like, hey, what's going on? At first, I was like, hey,
why are you talking to me?
And now it's just like, oh, I can't wait to talk to Betty. I can't wait to tell her about what's going on. And she's older, and so she waits for it. She's kind of waiting for that catch up time. And there is something really great about just sitting back and not having so much things to do, but allowing that space, that time to just have friendships evolve. And I don't think you get that in really tight, congested cities. I feel like there's just too much of the hustle and bustle that you can really enjoy a slower lifestyle out here.
Yeah. And I think it's by choice, because there's plenty to do here for anybody that's watching this that's not in Kansas City, that's like, wait a minute, is there things to do or isn't there? There's plenty to do here. Okay, we choose to hang out with our neighbors. Okay, that seems a little bit weird. But that's what we do. I think you nailed it, right? I mean, going back to the 9/11 thing, every single one of those guys that ran into those buildings, or ran towards that, made that choice to run that way, right? And everybody that's come after that has been a part of that. A lot of my brothers and sisters, right? I mean, they all made that choice to go towards it, right? So that's huge. Right? Are you gonna look away, or are you gonna pull over and help that person on the side of the road, right? Are you gonna, give them a meal, right? Whatever it is, make that choice, to be a hero. I think it's, being intentional, 100%.
Yes.
I'm going to ask you the hard one here, okay? If you had to compare yourself to any superhero that's out there, who best relates to Angeliina Lawson, and tell us a couple reasons why.
Okay, this is actually kind of funny. So there was an 80s TV show that I don't know if you've heard about it, but it's called The Greatest American Hero.
Okay.
And it's where a school teacher stumbles onto a costume, and he puts it on, he becomes a superhero, right? But I think what really makes him the hero isn't so much the costume, but that it gives him, the power that he thinks he has, but it's really that he believed in himself. And I think that really kind of plays into what I'm trying to say about Kansas City, is that where you don't need all the superpowers to be a hero, but it's the belief in the fact that you have the power to do it. And I think, I brought up Ted Lasso before, and I just keep coming back to that one sign that he had, and it says, believe. And I think there's so much power in the superpowerness of belief. And I think, we find our heroes beyond many accomplishments. And I mean, is Patrick Mahomes a superhero on the field effort, or is he more the superhero for what he's doing in the community?
Yeah.
And what is really grabbing the hearts of the country when they see what he's doing? And so I think that's really, it comes down to the greatest American hero. You're going to have to look up, I'll send you the YouTube video.
You got me. I don't know.
And it's got the greatest anthem ever. And you're gonna go, oh my goodness, I love the anthem. And anybody else watching this, you're gonna get on YouTube, check it out, and you're gonna smile and just be like, yeah, it's all about the belief that when I can put on a costume and do something powerful, the fact is it wasn't the costume. I had it the whole time.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Batman's kind of like that, right? He's kind of like, there's nothing special about Batman other than the massive amounts of money that he has, right? But he put on that suit and he went out there and he did it, right? I mean, he made that choice. So this is what this is how I'm going to use it, right?
That's right.
Which is extremely powerful. Well, Angeliina, you're awesome. I love having you in Kansas City. Kansas City's better off for having you here for sure. Thank you for coming on the show. How can people keep up with you? How can they get involved? If they've got questions about selling or buying land, how can they do those things?
Sure. Well, I am on LinkedIn, and you can definitely reach out to me on my website, thelandontherange.com, or I could be reached for nationallandrealty.com. So that's also one as well, nationalland.com. And I'm always looking for developers and funders that are looking to help build out the Kansas City Metro. I am looking to find these connections through LinkedIn. And I want to talk to movers and shakers. I want to help find what's great in their area and build that community out, whether it's a landowner, whether it's someone who wants to get into land and be part of the agritourism. Then I'm very interested to meet you, and please reach out.
I love it. Well, again, thank you, Angeliina. And what'd you say a little bit ago? $2 billion worth of cool things that are coming to Kansas and Missouri and Kansas City.
I am shepherding them like I'm threading the needle very delicately, and I am very excited that they want to be here. The things that they want to do, I think, would make Kansas Cityans very proud of what could be unveiled. And the World Cup is not too far away, and just notice every year there's going to be more and more changes, and to show up for the people in our area, because it is going to be different.
I love it. I'm here for it. I'm excited about it. This is awesome. Again, Angeliina, thank you. You're awesome. Everybody out there, thanks for tuning in, and have a fantastic day.
Thank you.
Hey, are we still live? Hey guys, we're still live. Hey guys, this is Kevin Kwok, founder of J29 Creative Group. So who are we? We're a marketing agency here in Kansas City. We're all about a holistic approach to marketing that builds your brand and nurtures online community. But to be honest with you, you guys don't care.